Hello and welcome to explanation video part 2 of Macbeth Act 1 Scene 7, which as I said is the most significant scene as far as Act 1 is concerned, because this is when we see this dialogue taking place between Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, and it's very significant. It contains many important passages. So now we have seen, after the long kind of vacillation that we see Macbeth going through, we see the entry of Lady Macbeth. That's where we had left the explanation video part 1. So this will be the concluding video of Act 1. Okay. So Lady Macbeth enters the scene and she says he's almost finished dinner. Okay. Macbeth says, what news? He has almost finished dinner, almost supped, almost finished eating. Why have you left the chamber? Why did you leave the dining hall? Macbeth says, did he ask for me? Lady Macbeth says, no, you not, he has. No, he has not. He did not. Don't you know he has? Don't you know he has? No, you not, he has. Macbeth says, we will proceed no further in this business. So now he says, let's stop this. I don't want to go ahead with this business. So he's using the word we because it was a plot which was kind of hatched by both husband and wife. We will proceed no further in this business, in this task of murdering King Duncan inside our castle. Should I increase the size a little more? Are you able to see it more clearly? Yes, sir, you are. We will proceed no further in this business. He hath honored me of late, and I have bought golden opinions from all sorts of people. So he's saying that he has just honored me. He has just said good things about me. He has called me, named me, given me the title of the Thane of Cawdor. I have bought the good opinion. Bought means just won the good opinion of all sorts of people. And I should be enjoying, which would be worn now in their newest gloss, not cast aside so soon. And I should be enjoying all these new kind of good opinions that are being spoken about me, this new title that has been given to me of Thane of Cawdor, while the feeling is so fresh, newest gloss means while the feeling is so fresh, and not throw them aside. By doing this, I run the risk of actually throwing them all aside and not enjoying the newfound glory that I have got. Lady Macbeth is not amused. Usko bilkul bhi acha nahi lagta hai to hear this kind of talk from Macbeth. Lady Macbeth says, was the hope drunk wherein you dressed yourself? That is, were you drunk when you were so hopeful earlier? Hopeful of becoming the King of Scotland. At that time, when you were ambitious, were you drunk? Were you not in your senses? Okay. Was the hope drunk wherein you dressed yourself? Hath it slept since? And has it now gone and slept and not waking up? Did you go to sleep and wake up green and pale? So green and pale at what it did so freely. That is, in fear of thinking of what was planned. That is, what happened to what you had planned, right? Did you go to sleep and get up feeling extremely nervous, okay, and scared and sick, in fear of thinking of what was planned? Thinking about the plot itself is making you feel so scared. So she says that from this moment, art thou afraid to be the same in thine own act and valor as thou art in desire? Wouldst thou have which thou esteemest the ornament of life? So she says that from this moment, this is what I will think of your love. So now this is very important. Lady Macbeth is challenging the entire idea of the love that she shares with Macbeth. So she's saying that from this moment, this is what I will think of your love. Are you afraid to act the way you desire? You desire something. What is it? That you want to be king of Scotland, but you don't want to do anything to achieve that purpose, right? So what Lady Macbeth is doing is something extremely cunning and clever. She's denigrating Macbeth's love, because if I say that I love the other person and the other person is kind of trying to challenge the fact that I love her, or the claim that I love her, is kind of insulting my love, right? So that is precisely what Lady Macbeth is doing right now. She's trying to hurt Macbeth's notion of love for Lady Macbeth, because she knows that this man is dependent on me for affection. right? So she's kind of trying to exploit that weakness in their interpersonal relationship in order to drive home her point, in order to ensure that this man does not vacillate like a pendulum. So she says, will you seize the crown, the ornament of life, and live a coward in thine own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon, I would, like the poor cat in the adage. Now, what she says is that, will you seize the crown, the ornament of life that you desire, or live like a darpok, like a coward in your own opinion? You would also think that I was a coward because I did not dare to take that extreme step, right? Esteem in your own opinion means, esteem means in your own opinion, and constantly saying I dare not after you say I would. First you say I would do this, and then you say no, 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 I dare not do this, right? So she's trying to do two things. One, she challenged the entire concept of love. Then she's challenging the whole concept of his so-called courage, कि तुम बोलते थे तुम बहुत ही ज्यादा brave हो, but हो तुम बिल्कुल डरपोक, right? So she's challenging his concept of courage itself. So wait upon, not wait upon. Wait upon here means that to follow I would with dare not. That is, he first said I would, then he says I dare not. So letting I dare not wait upon, that is follow after he has said I would, like the poor cat in the adage. Now you are like the cat in the old story. Adage means an old story, who wants to eat fish, okay, but refuses to get her feet wet. Interesting, no? That you, obviously if you have to catch fish, you need to step into the water, right? But the cat does not want to get her feet wet, but she wants the fish. So similarly, Macbeth wants the crown, but he will not do anything that will be necessary in order to achieve what he desires. I hope yahan tak ka sab samajh mein aa gaya. Okay, इससे ज़्यादा detail I don't think anyone can tell you. Macbeth says, Prithvi, peace, I dare do all that may become a man, who dares do more is none. So now kind of Macbeth comes under pressure. So the previous part, I've written a question and answer, analyzed Lady Macbeth's response to Macbeth and what does it say about their relationship. So please go through the entire thing because I've written 3 big paragraphs on this. So it will be kind of, it will give you an idea about how to present. If you get a 5 marks kind of a question, you should be able to explain it in the context of these 2 passages that have just happened, the Macbeth passage and the Lady Macbeth response. Okay, so murder, essentially what she has done very cleverly is to link murder to their romance. If you love me, you need to kill somebody, which is very weird. And it shows the very twisted nature of their relationship now, that you have to prove that you love me by murdering somebody. Aisa hota nahi hai, right? So it becomes some kind of a commitment in order to prove his love in his relationship of marriage with Lady Macbeth. So killing in that sense becomes some kind of a tool to consummate that love in Lady Macbeth's worldview. Okay, so Macbeth says, please stop. Please stop, Prithvi, peace. I dare do all that may become a man, who dares do more is none. So he says that I dare to do whatever is proper, whatever is appropriate for a man to do. Anyone who dares to do more than that is actually not a real man, which means he says anyone who commits a murder is actually not a man. I will do whatever it takes to actually, whichever is appropriate for a man, which is killing people on the battlefield, because that is valor, that is courage, that is bravery, that is fighting for your land. But this is becoming a criminal, becoming a murderer. Okay, so Macbeth, you realize that is now in this line has become a little meek. He has taken a step back. He's actually becoming very defensive, right? He's coming under pressure. He accepts his wife's interpretation of man, linking it to violent masculinity. He understands that some bit of violence is required in order to prove his manhood in that sense. But he also realizes that this is dangerous because manliness is also about kindness and empathy. So you see the different things which are moving around in Macbeth's head. It's very fascinating. That's what makes Macbeth probably one of Shakespeare's best plays. Far more engrossing than The Tempest, and definitely far more engrossing than Merchant of Venice, definitely. Okay. The Merchant of Venice is, of course, Merchant of Venice के आज के समय में it is called like, it's a play about EMIs. You know, somebody does not pay the EMI properly, so someone wants to extract his pound of flesh. So it's a bit like that. Lady Macbeth says, "What beast was it then that made you break this enterprise to me?" So she says, then what kind of a beast were you? What kind of an animal were you when you first disclosed this plan to me? When you wrote that letter to me, right? When you dared to do it, okay, when you dared to do it, when you does do it, then you were a man, and to be more than what you were, you would be much more the man. So she says that what kind of a beast were you when you first disclosed this particular enterprise, this entire plan to me? When you dared to do it, then you were a man. To actually do it in order to become king, you will be much more of a man. So look at how she interprets it. So Macbeth's interpretation of a real man is very different from Lady Macbeth's interpretation of a real man. So she says that to actually do it in order to become the king of Scotland would really be much more of a man. So she's giving her own kind of interpretation. So she says the time and place, nor time nor place did then adhere, and yet you would make both. So she says the time and place were not right to talk about killing the king, but you wanted to make it the right time and place, right? And go ahead with the murder anyhow, right? Not time and place did adhere. At that time it was not. And yet you would make them both. They have made themselves, and that their fitness now does unmake you. Now, you see, it's a little strange because we do not know of any such discussion about committing a murder. He has written that letter about committing a murder having taken place between Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. So maybe Lady Macbeth is referring to a previous occasion when Macbeth had vowed to kill Duncan, did not, right? But that occasion is not in this particular place. So it's quite possible that Shakespeare ने लिखा होगा, वो पेज कहीं खो गया होगा, किसी ने ले लिया होगा तो नहीं मिला. So which is why this particular passage hangs in the air like that, right? So she's referring to something which we don't know about because it's nowhere there in the play. Okay, so this is somehow a bit of the missing dots. The dots are not connecting properly. So she says that now the time and place are perfect. Now the time and place, they have made themselves, and that their fitness now does unmake you, right? So she says that now the time and place are perfect, but that perfectness seems to unnerve you, unmake you. That kind of thing seems to make you feel very nervous. When now the time and place inside our castle, time, dead of night, it's perfect to commit the murder. और तुम अभी बोल रहे हो कि आज मेरा मूड नहीं है, ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है? So that's what she is saying. I have given suck. This is a very important passage. I have given suck and know how tender it is to love the babe that milks me. So she now says that I have nursed a baby. Now again in the play there is no reference to any Macbeth's children. So she says I have nursed a baby and I know how tender and sweet it is to love the baby who is being breastfed, and it depends on her, the mother, for nourishment. Okay, if I had made a vow like you, अगर मैंने तुम्हारी तरह से प्रॉमिस किया होता, had I sworn as you, I would have removed my nipple from the baby's mouth. Okay, toothless mouth, boneless gums. Boneless gums. I would have plucked my nipple from his boneless gums and dashed the brains out, and I would have dashed the brains of that newborn child who I am breastfeeding, even if it was smiling at me, even if it was dash the brains of this thing smiling in my face, had I sworn as you have done to do this, if I had made a vow like this. So it shows a very different side to Lady Macbeth. I'm getting goosebumps reading this passage. Lady Macbeth says that, if I had made a promise like you that I would do this in order to achieve something, I would have even gone to the extent of removing the boneless gums of my newborn child from my breast, from my nipple, and dashed his brains out. So that is the extent of violence I'm willing to commit against my own baby. Against my own baby, I'm willing to do for the sake of achieving something. So it shows a very a very cruel and a very rough side to Lady Macbeth, that she is willing to go to this kind of an extent. Lady Macbeth says, if we should fail, okay, so what if we fail? So what Lady Macbeth's passage shows is that she's extremely ruthless. She's extremely ruthless in wanting to achieve what she has set out to achieve, and she wants to push Macbeth into doing that. Okay, so she says that she would rather kill her baby than not go ahead with her plan. The use of the child imagery is extremely important, and this is important from the point of view of a 5-mark question. The use of the child imagery is to highlight what? What do you think it highlights? It highlights her capacity for violence, that this much of violence she is capable of doing. Just imagine, this is not a normal person, a normal woman, a normal mother will not ever talk like this, that she's willing to dash the brains of her newborn child just to kind of fulfill a particular promise, a vow, right? But she's willing to do that. So this, in terms of imagery, this is extremely violent in Macbeth, very similar to the kind of violent imagery we saw in Act 1 Scene 2, when the sergeant is talking about how Macbeth put the head of the traitor outside the gates of the castle in Foss, right? So that was violent imagery on the battlefield, but this is even more violent and ruthless kind of imagery when Lady Macbeth is talking about her own child. You understand? So this is, if you get the talk of imagery, child imagery, link it to imagery, talk about that, so that you make it a well-rounded kind of an answer from the point of view of the 5 marks question. What if we fail? He says, if we should fail. Now, this is important. He's no longer talking about the right or wrong. He's talking about the risk of failure. What if we fail? Because he knows if he fails, he would get punished. So he's kind of weighing that. He's no longer talking about whether it is. So he shows that he's a very vacillating kind of a person. When Lady Macbeth argues strongly, he kind of is, he moves a little towards her side. But he's asking, but what if we fail? Pakde jayenge to kya karenge? Then what will we do? We fail? She says, will we fail? We fail? That is, I mean, can we fail? But screw your courage to the sticking place and we will not fail. So she says that if you get hold of your courage, if you kind of summon all the courage that you have, we will not fail. When Duncan is asleep, whereto the rather shall his day's hard journey soundly invite him. That is when Duncan is asleep, and he will be even more soundly asleep because he's so tired after this journey that he has undertaken all the way to Macbeth's castle, right? So she says that I will get his 2 bodyguards, his 2 chamberlains. I will get his 2 bodyguards intoxicated heavily. कि मैं उनको इतनी शराब पिला दूंगी, so convinced. That is, intoxicated heavily means so convinced with wine and wassail. Okay, wassail is a combination of wine and ale. That memory, the water of the brain, so that their memory will disappear in the fumes of alcohol, right? So they will no longer be conscious. So they will no longer be conscious, that their memory will fade, and the part of the brain where reasons are received are clouded, limnic, right? So shall be a fume, and the receipt of reason a limnic only. That the part of the brain where reasoning happens, that will be kind of numb, like a limnic. It will be clouded. So in Shakespeare time, memory was regarded that it happens at the back of the brain, and therefore it was known as the warder of the cerebellum, and it kept watch over the rest of the brain from the back. Okay, that was the belief during Shakespeare's time. So then she says, when in swinish sleep, when they are sleeping like pigs, their drenched natures lie as in a death. What cannot you and I perform upon the unguarded Duncan? So when they are sleeping like pigs, they are so drunk that they may appear to be dead. Drenched means drowned in wine. What is it that you and I cannot do to the unguarded Duncan? क्या नहीं कर सकते हैं? दोनों guards सो रहे हैं, right? Like pigs. I didn't want to say sewer. Like pigs, they are sleeping and they are so drunk, right, that they appear to be dead. What cannot you and I do to the unguarded Duncan? He's not guarded at that point in time. And he's also soundly asleep because he's so tired. Whatever we do, we can put the blame on the drunken, spongy officers, right? We can put the blame on the spongy officers that इन्होंने ही उसका खून किया है, who shall bear the guilt of our great quell. That quell means murder, that they will bear the guilt. That is, they were the ones who committed the murder. Bring forth men, children only. So, Macbeth says, for thy undaunted metal should compose nothing but male. So he says that may you only give birth to boys. Men, children means to boys, only because your fearless spirit, your kind of courage, your quality, undaunted metal should create nothing but males. Because that's the kind of quality of courage you seem to have. Okay, once we have masked the two bodyguards with blood, we put the blood of Duncan on the two bodyguards. Okay, when we are marked with blood, those sleepy two of his own chamber and use their very daggers that they have done. So he's saying that once we have masked the two bodyguards with blood of Duncan and used their daggers, yani ki the short knife, to kill Duncan, what wouldn't it be believed that they were the ones who killed him? So he's now got convinced. Again, he was earlier wanting to kill Duncan. Beach mein he was vacillating. Now, because of Lady Macbeth's very forceful intervention, he has again got convinced. Okay, and he's also not thinking कि risk भी नहीं है. Okay, risk भी नहीं है या कम है. Okay, Lady Macbeth, who dares receive it other, as we shall make our griefs and clamor roar upon his death. So Lady Macbeth says, who would possibly think otherwise? That they have not. Everybody will be convinced that they were the ones who killed Duncan when the blood will be on them and their daggers would have been used to kill Duncan. We will also grieve loudly when we learned of his death. We will also kind of shout and cry loudly in order to make everyone believe that we are also upset over his death. Macbeth says, I am settled, and bend up each corporal agent to this terrible feat. So he says that, okay, I am settled means I am determined that I will exert every muscle. Corporal agent means every muscle of my body to commit this particular feat. Feat as in murder. Terrible feat. He also knows that it is a terrible deed to undertake to kill Duncan. Away and mock the time with fairest show. So he says that go now and deceive everyone. Mock the time means deceive everyone by being a friendly hostess, because Duncan was still there in the dining room, right? Fairest show means by being a very good hostess, and hide with a false face what your false heart knows. Okay, your false face must hide what the false heart does know. So the use of the word false, foul earlier by the witches, false now by Macbeth, both indicating something similar, which is not true, against the truth. So he also knows that, what the false heart knows, right? False face, we don't use these kind of words for ourselves, a false face, a false heart, because we believe that we are truthful people. But Macbeth knows that both he and Lady Macbeth have gone down, and both of them are not going to do something which is not entirely correct thing to do. So he uses the word false heart and false face. This is again an important line. With this, we come to the end of Act 1 of Macbeth. I hope all the scenes are clear. Please go through them, ask for any doubts. As I said, Macbeth is an extremely fascinating play, operating at different levels, at different layers, that makes it an extremely riveting kind of a read and understand. Okay, thank you very much for watching.